What's up everyone, back for another beer review, and today I'll be reviewing yet another collaboration beer. This time between Guinness, and they are headquartered in St. James's Gate in Dublin, Ireland, and the Brooklyn Brewery, and they are headquartered in Brooklyn, New York, and this is their Fonio Stout. So they're calling this one a bold and a lively stout, which means that this is a stout brewed with Fonio. It comes in at 6.2% alcohol by volume. No IBUs listed. Time of review, this can is just under 4 months old. So I picked this one up late last year because a very good friend of mine, a fellow beer tuber, Joe over at Joe's Arcade, had a friend that loves Guinness and wanted to get his hands on this. This is somewhat of a limited release in the pretty much the northeastern part of the U.S. And luckily, the FLX boys, Dan and Mike, two very good friends of ours and fellow beer tubers, were able to grab a 4-pack and I believe send it to Joe for his buddy. But I also picked up a 4-pack just in case. And I ended up keeping one to review, gave one to my pops, and then the other two I shared with some local friends at my favorite local bottle shop of choice, Brewed and Bottled, Lewiston, New York. We cracked open a couple cans, shared it with a bunch of people, and I had about 4 ounces, maybe 5 ounces of it. However, my palate was compromised, so I couldn't tell you exactly how it tasted. I gave it a 3.8 out of 5 on Untapped. It just tasted like a good American Stout. That's what it tasted like to this terrible palate. But now I get to sit down at a proper temperature, review it with no outside interference. But I'm really pumped for this one. Now, obviously, the label art's, typical Guinness and whatnot. I think it's pretty nice here. On top of that, they do have a spiel here that I'll hold up in case you are able to read that. If not, I'll read it real quick. It says that this limited edition beer celebrates the rich global history of Guinness, blending our Irish heritage with the vibrancy of African culture and the creative spirit of Brooklyn Brewery brewmaster Garrett Oliver. Together, we dive into the new ingredients, highlighting Fonio. I think it's pronounced Fonio, an ancient West African grain that lends the robust flavors of the region to this bold and lively stout. It says fruity, roasted, and tropical. Now, I know that Garrett Oliver has been infatuated with this. They did I think a double Pilsner. I never saw it, or I never was searching for it. And yeah, I'm really excited about this one. So shout out to Joe for kind of, letting me know about this one. Like, I had no idea it existed until he mentioned it. So really cool. I got the Guinness glass here, and we're going to crack it open and get it in to the glass and hope that it's a pretty tasty beer. So this is the first Shelfie beer review for the month of February 2025, and hopefully it's a good one. So we're going to give it a nice pour here as I spill it. This is the first time I've spilled a beer in a while. I will clean it up, though. I will definitely clean it up. All right, just making sure. I was trying to do, I've been doing good with this, with the pours, and that was horrible, by the way. Just want to point that out. So if you've come here to look at the pour, don't look away, please. So I'm not going to pour it all in. Obviously, this is not nitro whatsoever. This doesn't have the widget or anything. It's just a regular stout, which is why it says bold and lively. Now, as far as the color of this is concerned, now this is where maybe my camera will come in to help you. Now, usually when I have something like this on my old camera, I would be like, oh, it's really, it's like a dark, this is honestly like a dark, I'd say a dark brown into like almost like a deep Irish red. Like, it's definitely not dark. Now, I'm going to hold it up to the camera here, and maybe you can tell. But if not, what I'll do is I will get out my flashlight, and you guys will be able to see what I'm saying here. Maybe. I don't know. See how this works. No, maybe not. Yeah, you see how it's like, you can see the reflective color there? It's kind of like a dark color like that, like a dark caramel, something like that. Again, I don't know how well it's going to come off on my camera. If I hold it closer here, maybe you guys can see it a little bit better. I don't know, but it definitely is, in the glass, it definitely has a darker color, but it's more of like a deep mahogany color. But yeah, we have also at the same time a 1.5 finger of this creamy looking khaki head that has, what the hell is that? Is that a piece of hair? I washed this glass before I used it, like, really well, so I don't know what's going on here. But yeah, anyway, that looks really nice in the glass. We'll hold it from the other side, so this is probably the more proper side to see it, but it looks really nice, if I'm being honest with you. So anyway, I could smell it. It definitely is quite fruity. Let's get a nose. Yeah, I mean, it has that roasty kind of malt quality to it, but it's more fruity than most of the Guinness that, from the draft to the foreign stout to the extra foreign stout or foreign extra stout. Yeah, I'm almost getting like cherry, berries. It says tropical, like a little bit of like a mango or like a pineapple. It smells like a more fruity American Stout. That's kind of what it smells like. There's a little bit of like a lightly roasted coffee, maybe a touch of caramel. But if I wanted to go generic with the tasting notes on this one, I would just say straight up, this tastes, or I mean, smells like a, it smells like a nice American Stout. You can tell it's like lower ABV, just kind of has that vibe to it with a little bit more of an oomph of a fruitiness. So yeah, that's pretty wild. I don't remember, again, when I was sharing it, I'm not sitting there going, smelling this thing for 2 minutes, you know, pouring it horribly and spilling it everywhere and talking about, oh, the look of it for another 2 minutes. Yeah, it smells pretty good. Let's get into it. Cheers, everyone. That's precisely what it is. Yeah, for sure. That's exactly what it is. Now, this looks way more proper with this pour, 100%. And, you know, you got it in the hashtag proper glassware. Hashtag proper glassware for days. So the body on this one's like medium, maybe a touch under medium body, 6.2%. I think it's appropriate. Some people might drink this and be like, oh, that's a bit thin. You know what? It could be a bit thin based on, you know, 6.2% in American Stout, but it's a touch thin, if anything. Nothing to really complain about, I don't think. Like, I'm not sitting here and going, oh, this is thin and watery. It's just like lower side medium body. The taste, however, is a lot better than the body. The mouthfeel, moderate carbonation. It's smooth to some degree, a little bit of creaminess, but it's not going to replicate a Guinness, you know, draft, you know, out of the can or on tap. It's not nitro, not going to do that. So I think the body is appropriate, might be a touch thin, and then on top of that, the mouthfeel is fine for what this is supposed to be. The taste, though, really, I don't know if you just heard that, I feel like I just snapped my wrist in half. From front to back, there's this beautiful, like, omnipresent roasty quality to this one. It's very roasty and toasty. Sweet chocolate, lightly roasted coffee. There's a little bit of caramel and toffee, but what happens, maybe even like a bit of brown bread, like a toasty and roasty brown bread. But halfway through the palate, there's this big blast of fruitiness that is kind of weird, but I think it works. There's cherry, there's pineapple, there's mango, there's a little bit of berry essence, maybe even a touch of citrus. It just really drinks like, if you had me a 6 to 7% American Stout, it drinks almost identical to what I think the prototypical American Stout would be, with a little bit more of an emphasis on a fruity nature. So that's probably where the Fonio is coming in, is that fruitiness, and I'm okay with that. It does have a nice sweetness throughout. On the back of the palate, it finishes semi-dry with a mild bitterness. This leans a little bit sweeter in my opinion, but it's not cloying or anything. It does have a nice, I should say more of like a semi to full-on dryness. I did say semi-dryness. I think it's more approaching full. So it does have a pretty good balance to it. It's not really bitter whatsoever. 6.2%, I can't tell. This, again, drinks like a lower ABV. Just, you know, you could, I don't want to call this a session stout because most session beers are labeled like less than 5%, but you could session this for sure. I don't think this is bringing anything. Here's the way I'd sum up this beer. It's a cool concept. I really love the creativity of, you know, using a grain like this that I've never heard of before this beer. And I'm sure some folks of you have heard, some of you guys have heard about this grain, you know, in the past. I have not. So I like the innovation. I like the creativity. I like the fact that Fonio is in this beer and it's affecting it in some way. But if I was drinking this blind, I would just think this is a fruity stout, like a fruit forward stout. I would maybe even think there's a little bit of fruit in here. So that's cool from that aspect. I would like to see that grain used in something, some kind of style that where the fruit would accentuate it a bit more. That's at least what I would like to see. As is though, it's an easy drinking stout. I could hammer this in a couple minutes. The 4-pack I could probably drink in an evening. I'd probably be all messed up, but I think the drinkability is there. It's just, it's not setting a new standard. So I gave this beer a 3.8 out of 5, you know, drinking it, 4 or 5 ounces, you know, basically at a craft beer bar, more or less, is what Brewed bottled is, craft beer bar / you know, bottle shop. And, I was probably half dozen pours deep, so really didn't know what I was tasting. But now sitting here drinking it, I don't think it's much better than I experienced it when I was having it then, but it's a little bit better. So Guinness in Brooklyn, their Fonio Stout. I'm going to give this a, give this a low 4 out of 5. I'll go 3.9. I'll give it a 0.1 better than what I had at the share. I think that's a fair kind of score for it, in my opinion. So that's what we'll do. And once again, I will turn around in case you want to read it. Although I already read it, so probably not. So yeah, pretty good overall. Price point and availability, it was $13.99 a 4-pack. I picked it up at Wegmans grocery store. And I know as far as the availability goes, they did say that it was pretty much getting in like New York, I think New Jersey, maybe into like PA, Connecticut. It was definitely like Northeast, Mid-Atlantic kind of region. So if you saw this one, post in the comment section, let me know if you picked it up, what you thought about it. I'd love to hear from anybody who has experienced this beer, period. It's a fun concept. Like I said, the creativity is awesome. The innovation, using a grain that I've never seen in a beer before, really cool. But I don't think this is like doing anything that's wowing me. But at the same time, it doesn't need to do something like that. It's just a good drinking beer, and I enjoy it. So that does it for this beer review. I am going to shut this one down and hope that somebody else out there has had this one. And if not, would you try this out? If you saw a 4-pack of this for $13.99, which I don't think is a bad price point, $3.50 a can, would you pick this up? Would you be curious? Be like, hey, that's Guinness in Brooklyn. Let me give it a go. Because that's exactly what I would have done if Joe never mentioned to me. If I would have saw that, I would have still bought it. Just because I'd have been like, wow, Guinness and Brooklyn, like that's a cool cool collaboration. I'm down for it. So I'm going to shut this one down. Appreciate everybody stopping by for another beer review here on the Beer Patrol. Check back tomorrow when we have Western New York Wednesday, and we're going to have some more shelfie beer reviews over the course of the month of February 2025. And until then, cheers. I did say 6.2%, right? Really can't tell? Yeah. It's a nice sessionable stout at 6.2%. Could get you in trouble if you drank, 3 or 4 cans of it. Cheers.